Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. Guess who's receiving a Quad State recognition and what company is asking for a tax abatement?
Stay tuned, learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. Congratulations, it's official. OCTV's production manager and producer Terry Stiles recently received Quad State attention for her contribution to Oxford Community Television for works she directed on a program called Our Community Access with Bill Service. She competed in a Quad State Public Access Television Festival against over 1,000 candidates for recognition. The award was received in Richmond, Indiana, and given to by the Philo Festival of Media Arts. Terry Stiles is a regular dynamo at this station. She oversees virtually every editing and production service that OCTV has and serves as co-anchor on this news program as well. Terry lives with her husband Don, has 2 grown children, and 2 small, as she would put it, incredible grandchildren. From all of us at the station, great job, Terry.
Owners of the new Legacy Center on South Lapeer Road is requesting a tax abatement, basically in exchange for bringing thousands of people into our community. Owner Christian Mills asked Oxford Township for the abatement due to the project's high-risk proposition. The building was formerly the Sea Ray boat plant, but is being completely renovated to provide a mixture of businesses including physical fitness and healthy dining. Mills is asking the township to establish a defined special district so that he can apply for a property tax abatement known as a commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate. That wasn't easy. This would freeze collection of local taxes for a period of up to 10 years. It does not mean the company will go from paying taxes, but they would be required to pay school taxes and personal property taxes. The proposal is still under negotiation and subject to review by the township officials.
Last week, the DDA Board Secretary Bill Dunn asked the board if profits made from the events like the Scarecrow Festival should be set aside in order to be used as seed money for the next year's event.
We'll have a running total of whether you're winning or losing on an event, the ones that we're doing. Yes. So,
Well, yeah, I had suggested at another meeting that we roll that, whatever profit we make, we should roll over into the next year so that we have it as seed money to start for the next event for next year, for Scarecrow next year. So we have talked about it.
In addition, Sullivan's pub owner, Jerry Crummins, brought up his concerns about the recent approval of a facade grant given to a neighboring business.
My building's 16 and a half feet wide, Even driving over here behind 24th Street Tavern with the trees that are outside there now, and now that awning, my entire sign is not visible. But I guess my gripe at the time was, and you had mentioned that I was out ill at the time that it was part of the agenda, which is fine. But how about if I wasn't on the board?
DDA Director Joe Frost and Secretary Dunn suggested creating design guidelines prior to giving out facade grants.
that when we do these type of grants, that we look beyond just the building that's applying.
That's correct.
And what it's going to be doing for the neighboring buildings.
Yeah, and right now, we are in the process of redeveloping the facade grant program. And one of the things we've discussed in the design committee is the need for design guidelines. Because as of right now, there are no design guidelines. So it's really kind of an ad hoc on a case-by-case basis. But design guidelines in general, in the preservation sense, do require that you take into a compatibility standpoint of not only the building that you're doing work to, but the adjoining buildings and their architecture as well.
A town hall meeting on the lasting effects of Agent Orange was held recently at Christ the King Church. One of the 6 speakers, Jennifer Hardacre of Bay City, explained her ongoing health issues because of her father's exposure in Vietnam.
I have communicating hydrocephalus, where I have to undergo spinal taps to control the fluid pressure in my brain. My Chiari is associated with spina bifida, so I filed a claim with the VA only to be denied on the basis of my mother never served in Vietnam. I sent in more information about my condition and stated that my claim was being filed due to my father's exposure, not to my mother's. I got a letter saying that I have no open case to resubmit. Of course, I resubmitted and was told there was no new evidence, that all the stuff that they had, they were saying my case mysteriously reappeared then.
Children and grandchildren and Vietnam-era veterans are also experiencing numerous health problems.
My 4 children, 2 of them have bipolar disorder. 1 has unexplained seizures and extreme menstrual issues. All of them wear glasses, and 1 has rheumatoid arthritis and kidney problems at the age of 9. The doctors are also watching him for lupus.
A short rain delay did not stop the participants of the second annual Zombie Run held at the Polly-Ann Trail last Sunday. Trail manager Patrick Ball has the details.
If you are a zombie, you'll be meeting at the Pine Tree at about 5 minutes to 6. And we look forward to being scared, I guess. Can you look forward to being scared? Anyway, we're trying to raise money as a fundraiser for bike fix-it stations along the trail. There will be 3 of them when we're all said and done. The object of the runner is to run the 3 miles and try to keep at least one of the 2 flags they have around their waist as they cross the finish line. It's not necessarily who's the fastest, but who has the most flags on when they cross. And it's fun. The runners will be putting on their...
At the October meeting of the Addison Township Planning Commission, there was a public hearing for the application of a proposed 5-bedroom bed and breakfast in Leonard. The applicant, Mark Smith, provided the board with the details.
We expect it to be quiet and neighborly, not disruptive of our neighbors, whom we respect their privacy. We think we have very good access to main roads, being right next to Lakeville Road. So it should be convenient for all involved, and we hope that we will be benefiting the township and people will see this as a lovely place to come and visit.
Provided the applicant responds to 3 proposed changes as directed by the Planning Commission. The recommended site plan will be brought to the Addison Township Board for final approval.
So number 1, correction of the site plan to show current zoning district if warranted. Number 2, indicate proposed location of permitted wall sign. And number 3, no commercial rental operations or sales other than the room and meals to renters are permitted on the site. Is that an understood and acceptable condition?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll bet you didn't know Lakeville has a historical grist mill, right? Not only that, but there was once 2 such mills located in Lakeville. However, the only surviving mill is owned by Todd Elder, who since purchasing it in 2004 has been restoring it to its original glory. After the original building was built in the 1830s, it later burned down and the building was reconstructed in the 1840s on the same site. Over the years, it has served as a grist mill, a machine shop, a bolt manufacturing business, and a furnace, get this, for crematory. Interesting little bit of information, huh?
Addison Township resident Bob Godkin has such respect for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces that he has created a Veterans Memorial at his Hosner Road front yard. The memorial includes a flagpole, a large rock inscribed with these words: "Honor our veterans, freedom is not free." Bob Godkin served in the U.S. Coast Guard and is a member of Oxford's American Legion Post 108.
A woman and her boyfriend attempted to swindle a local woman out of her money. Somehow, the victim was convinced by the couple to take money from her bank account and send it to an address in Nigeria. Officers told her to contact Western Union and cancel the transaction.
Oxford police were called to an industrial building on Lapeer Road on a larceny complaint. The business owners complained of shipping pallets disappearing from the job site. Surveillance video, however, revealed 2 white male subjects loading the loot into their truck and drive away. Officers now have the video description of the thieves.
Things are disappearing.
Things are disappearing, and well, why would you send your money to Nigeria? I just can't even imagine.
I don't get it.
What a shame.
But you know, some of these fast-talking people, you know, they can really convince people on suspecting that,
I
you know,
guess,
give me
yeah.
your money.
There's some really naive people out there, and you know, just trusting. It's really sad.
Did you know there was a grist mill, by the way, over there in Lakeville?
Well, I knew there was a grist mill. I didn't know there were two, and I certainly didn't know that they used it for a crematory, because I've always wanted to go in that building, and I'm thinking twice about that now.
You're thinking there may be a few ghosts floating around?
Yeah,
It could
maybe
be, I
so.
don't know. But I think that's something maybe the Historical Society needs to address
to
here
do some
locally.
research.
It'd be interesting.
We did a story. Russell was over there last weekend. They had an open house, and we did a small story on our community access, which we'll be playing this week if you want to catch it. Bruce Pearson, the township supervisor, is such a wealth of knowledge. He's a walking history book, especially about that community. So it's nice to see that kind of stuff come about.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to report on those.
There's a lot of history there. 1830, my goodness, that's something else, isn't it? So that's it for Oxford News this week. If you want to learn more about these stories and others, stop by your local store and pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, catch us right here at Charter Channel 191 or AT&T Channel 99 and Lakeville, Leonard Channel 19,
Yes.
AT&T.
Can't forget them. They're
That's
out there.
right.
Coming up next on OCTV, Oxford Sports with Jamie Hughes, and catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. Also join Dave Kenny in Auto Talk and Science in the News.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where your news is local.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Hey Lakeville, you're watching OCTV. Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, we're about to get our best taste yet of the salty sea under Saturn's moon Enceladus. Last week, NASA's Cassini spacecraft descended to within 30 miles of the surface, just a few miles higher than the recent record-breaking skydives made by Alan Eustace and Felix Baumgartner on Earth. That will make it Cassini's lowest pass ever through the plume of ice and vapor erupting from the moon. During the mere tenths of a second the probe spent within the plume, an onboard detector counted the patter of ice particles hitting the spacecraft. That should show whether the plumes are tight sprays or rise in sheets from fractures on the surface. Another instrument was to fingerprint simple organic molecules from the underground ocean. We might have new organics that we haven't seen previously, said Linda Spickler of the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California, during a NASA press conference. Cassini's instruments can't detect life directly, but can measure levels of hydrogen in the plumes. That in turn gives us hints of what conditions exist at potentially habitable vents on the seafloor. On Earth, simple microbial ecosystems thrive in the warmth of hydrothermal vents, where they can produce energy by metabolizing hydrogen. Something similar may be occurring on Enceladus. You could perhaps have very diverse kinds of life there, Spickler said, and we'll see about that. Still in space, future travelers to a comet might not need to pack beer or sweets. Two of our favorite vices, alcohol and sugar, are already present on at least one comet in our neighborhood. Comet C 2014 Q2, also called Comet Lovejoy, made its closest approach to the Sun in January this year, becoming visible to the naked eye and also giving astronomers the chance to study the makeup of its atmosphere. The detection of these compounds in comets helps to expand our knowledge and the potential ingredients for life that could have been delivered to the early Earth or planetary surfaces by comets, says Jamie Elsilla, an astrochemist at NASA. This knowledge can then help evaluate the likelihood of potential pathways to life. Wow. And back on Earth, going, but not gone. The rate at which phytoplankton are disappearing as oceans warm has been vastly overestimated by a glitch in models. That's good news, given that these tiny ocean plants are microbes, support other marine life, remove half the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere each year, and produce up to 70% of the oxygen that we breathe. Estimates of the abundance of these photosynthesizing cells are calculated by looking at levels of the green pigment chlorophyll in the satellite images of the oceans. These images appear to show that plankton numbers fall as the ocean temperature rises. But plankton can adjust how much chlorophyll they make depending on light conditions. When Michael Berenfeld of the Oregon State University took that into account, he found that it can explain more than 85% of the observed changes in chlorophyll levels. Yet he thinks plankton will still suffer under climate change because warmer surface water does not mix well with colder, nutrient-rich lower layers. So keep it up, phytoplankton. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back after this.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcats School Update. The last school board meeting of October was held last week, and there was a lot of good news. Our district received a clean audit from the CPAs, congratulating us for being within budget and in the black. We were reminded that eventually there will be some roof and boiler repairs needed to our building, and we should have a plan. Deputy Superintendent of Finance Sam Barna talked about this.
What we do have is a list of improvements that needs to happen within the district, and frankly, when I mentioned that Tony right now, his first priority is really looking at the buildings and the roofing and the boiler maintenance first and foremost, because of the season, obviously. He's been working really hard along with Joe Kilgore, our technician as well, and really going from school to school to do those updates to the boilers. And in addition to that, we are looking at, obviously, our roofs. Those are the two most expensive, most important things in this district in terms of building wide. And so, really, they're hitting those hard. And so, to answer your question, though, there is no master plan, per se, that I'm aware of to address those. What it is something that we need to discuss, obviously at the board level as well, but also prioritize and also get prices on what it will cost to fix for the long term, and not Band-Aid approaches. I'm not about Band-Aids, I'm about long-term fixes. So.
There was also a presentation by one of the parents collecting money for playground improvements in our elementary schools. Superintendent Tim Throne offered to match their collections up to $30,000 for these improvements. Awards were given out for the summer reading program over at Oxford Elementary. Teacher Krista Rushlow explains.
The program is called the Summer Reading Club, so it's a 1,000-minute summer reading club, and the purpose of it is to get kids to read over the summer so that they don't have the summer gap, they don't relapse and go back to their slide. We call it summer slide, where they go back in reading levels over the summer because they're not practicing. And so I think this is like the 12th or 13th year that we've been doing it, and in order to participate, all the kids have to do is read and keep track of the minutes that they spend reading. They can read on their own, out loud, listen to someone else reading to them. They can read any type of book, comic books, reading on their Kindles, anything.
Student Janelle East read the most minutes. We asked her about that.
I don't really know. I just really enjoy reading, so I guess it kind of just felt normal to read, because I normally do read over the summer. I just don't really keep track of it, so this, I like.
Any special kind of books that you like to read?
No, I really like reading all books. It's just...
All different kinds? History?
I like history books.
Novels?
I like those too.
You like novels? Well, congratulations. I think that's just wonderful. What a great habit to be in. Now, do you read the actual books or do you have a Kindle?
I have a Kindle. I read that sometimes, and then sometimes I read the actual book.
We reported earlier that Oxford High School Orchestra Director Bill Milicevic is retiring this year. We had a chat with Bill about what he'll be doing next.
About a year ago, I had a wonderful opportunity to take on the directorship for the Rochester Symphony in Rochester, Michigan. And subsequently, there's a person, a colleague of mine, that was going to be retiring from not only the Flint Symphony Orchestra, but from a group called Troubadours. And the Troubadours are a string quartet that are an outreach of the Flint Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah, they've been around our schools.
They've been around our schools, and I know that I've brought them here to perform at each of the elementaries. And Mary Margaret is her name, and so she now lives with her family in North Carolina. So when the vacancy came about, I was asked and approached if I'd be interested. And I didn't know at first, but it was a really incredible opportunity because it was absolutely compatible with so many other things that I was doing as well.
Natalie Frakes is taking over his spot. She comes to us from Wayne State University, and we'll be seeing a lot of her during the coming year. OHS junior Tori Spring was the winner of the latest Oxford Idol competition a few days ago. It came down to her being the best of 7 finalists. Tori concluded her performance by singing The House of the Rising Sun, popularized by the Animals back in the 1960s. You remember that, don't you? Congrats to our Tori Spring, our latest Oxford Idol. That's the school update for this week. Stay tuned for Jamie with sports. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
Welcome back to Oxford News This Week. Time for Oxford Sports. The Oxford Wildcats finished their football season Friday night, a 49-42 loss to North Farmington, ending with an uncharacteristic 3-6 record, but also discovered some diamonds on the way. They're expected to shine in the next coming seasons. The team began the season with only one starter, returning on defense, a new quarterback, and a new offensive backfield. By season's end, the Wildcats seemingly have found a future quarterback, sophomore Parker Fleming, running back junior Ethan Williams, who rushed for 290 yards, 2 touchdowns on Friday, an excellent kicker and a punter, sophomore Matthew Molinicki. I hope I have your name right there, Matt. Also returned a kickoff for a 91-yard TD on Friday. Coach Bud Rowley was obviously disappointed with the team allowing 49 points from North Farmington, but acknowledged there are some bright spots for the upcoming seasons ahead. Oxford and North Farmington are evenly matched at the OAA divisional crossover game. In 3 of the 4 quarters on Friday, each team scored 14 points. The difference in the game were 7 points. The Raiders scored in the second quarter while holding the Wildcats scoreless. 3 Wildcat fumbles also led to 21 points by the Raiders. One of the fumble recoveries resulted in a 59-yard touchdown run for North Farmington. Williams had touchdown runs at 46 and 66 yards out. Oxford's running back Wyatt Harden also scored a TD from Oxford. The Wildcats trailed by 21 points in the fourth quarter, 49-28, but scored twice in the final 4 minutes and 25 seconds to send the game within 7 points in the fourth quarter. On a 5-yard run by Joshua Hall, while the Wildcats recovered an onside kick, quickly scored again, an 11-yard run by Wyatt Harden at 2:05 left. The Wildcats could not recover the ensuing onside kick. The Raiders ran out the clock again. Once again, a close game despite the 49-42 contest there. Again, a lot of growth coming to Oxford, and they will pick up the pieces and bounce back for next season. Obviously, Bud Rowley will make sure that happens. We would like to congratulate our football broadcast team, our own Keith Jackson in the booth, J.R. Laffner, and Rod Wright, doing a great job calling the Wildcat football. We'll look forward to seeing you next year. Congratulations to our Wildcat football. Jumping out to the soccer field, the Wildcat Booters started their district playoff strong last week with beat the Lake Orion Dragons 1-0. It was their first win against Orion after tying them earlier in the season. The tempo of the game was very back and forth until Oxford finally got on the scoreboard when Captain Devin DeLong ripped the shot that found the back of the net. After the initial shot came off the post, Nick Wright. Oxford held the line into the half. Unfortunately, the boys' postseason run came to a quick end. They lost 4-2 to Stony Creek in district semifinals. The Cats ended their season with a record of 11-3-8. Oxford's junior captain Nick Wright scored a penalty kick, being taken down in the box, and began to climb back from being down by 4 in the second half. The Wildcats' pressure paid off when junior Connor Novak hitting on the back of the net after the set piece was played from the outside. Bandel also made numerous saves and came up to disrupt any Cougar advance on the goal. With time winding down, though, Stony Creek maintained the 2-goal lead. The Oxford program will say goodbye this year to seniors Connor Bandel, Chris Lint, Nathan Sharp, Greg Knox, Devin DeLong, and Trevor Dean. They had a fantastic season and made everyone proud here in Oxford. For Oxford soccer, they represented their school, community, and families with pure class, according to Coach Thaler. They have been a part of the program for the past 5 and 2 seasons, 29 wins. The few schools have achieved such a record in Division I play and the toughest conference in the OAA White. It's been great representing our program. Again, Coach Thaler, very pleased, and we'll have to work on next year after losing all those seniors. We'd also like to thank our broadcast team there for being in the booth. Again, all our broadcasters are mostly volunteers, and they do it for the love of the game. The Oxford Avondale varsity hockey team is having tryouts for the upcoming hockey season on Tuesday, November 3rd and Thursday, November 5th, 3:45 to 5 p.m. at the Troy Sports Arena. If you're interested in possibly playing some hockey, Coach Dan Henze will be there, and you can contact him at 989-751-2733. That is, again, 989-751-2733. You can also send an email with your interest to useagles98. That's all one word, usaeagles98@yahoo.com. It'd be great to see the guys back out on the ice and maybe catching some of those games here on OCTV. Keeping up with the schedule, local news and sports. If you have an Oxford athlete in your life, go to their website. It's oxfordathletics.org. Again, that's one word, oxfordathletics.org. All the scores, schedules, upcoming events at your fingertips when you choose to check it out. While you're on the web, a lot of website stuff here. Just remember our website, it's OCCTV.org. You can hit the programs tab, hit the YouTube tab, and here see any one of our programs that we do tape or film here at OCTV. You can watch it on your iPad, computer, or phone, wherever you choose to watch. I urge you to stay tuned on the weekends, catch all the sporting action out there wherever we're playing on between 1:30 and 6 p.m. on Saturday and Sundays. Again, you can also watch them at your fingertips at OCCTV.org. It's going to wrap it. Congratulations to all the sports teams. We're looking forward to a great hoop season coming up. We'll have that as well. Stay tuned. Oxford Community Television. We'll be right back after this. Have a great week, everybody.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, the UAW's tentative labor contract with General Motors includes a commitment to spend $8.3 billion over 4 years on upgrades to 12 U.S. plants, along with the union's first significant wage increases in a decade and $8,000 signing bonus to persuade workers to support the package. On the recall front, there are several. General Motors is recalling 1.4 billion that's to say million, older vehicles in its third major attempt to fix a defect that can cause the engine to catch fire. The 1997 to 2004 Buick Regal, the 2000 to 2004 Chevrolet Impala, 1998 to 1999 Chevrolet Illumina, 1998 to 2004 Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and 1998 Oldsmobile Intrigue, and 1907 to 2004 Pontiac Grand Prix are all covered under the recall. Each has a 3.8-liter V6 3800 engine. During hard braking, oil can drop onto the hot exhaust manifold, potentially causing engine compartment fires, GM spokesman Alan Adler said in a statement. This is the third major recall GM has issued for the defect in several of its older models, the others coming in 2008 and 2009. Despite the previous recalls, 1,345 cars caught fire after being fixed, Adler said. GM is finalizing a fix but has yet to decide on one, Adler told Automotive News. The fires have led to 19 minor injuries since 2009, but GM is not aware of any deaths or crashes. About 85% of the fires were unattended, meaning the car was likely turned off, Adler wrote in an email. Yikes. And at Fiat Chrysler Automobiles NV is recalling over 284,000 older model SUVs in the United States due to inadvertent airbag deployment. Fiat said the affected vehicles, certain model year 2003 to Jeep Liberty SUVs and 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokees, are not equipped with Takata Corporation airbags. Fiat Chrysler said it will replace faulty occupant restraint control modules, which determine the deployment of the airbags and front and side impact sensors. And over at Honda Motor Company said it will recall nearly 304,000 Accords in the U.S. to fix a flaw that could lead to side door airbags deploying even if the vehicles are not in a crash. Airbags in the 2008 to 2009 model year Accord sedans may inadvertently deploy if the ignition is on and a door is slammed or if there's a significant impact to the lower body of the car, Honda said in a statement. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.